Witchcraft is one of the oldest practices in the world, older than churches, older than kings, older than books. It began long before we wrote anything down. Back then, people lived close to nature. They watched the stars to tell time. They listened to the wind to sense storms. They knew which plants could heal and which ones could kill. These people weren't called witches yet, but they were doing witchcraft. Witchcraft is not evil. That lie came later. Witchcraft is the art of working with the hidden forces of nature. It's the practice of connecting with the spirit of the earth, the rhythm of the moon, and the whispers of fire, water, wind, and stone. A witch doesn't just look at a tree. She feels its energy. She doesn't just drink tea. She speaks to the plant inside it. Witchcraft is about waking up to the living world around you and learning to work with it, not against it. Though the first witches were the wise ones, the healers, the dream walkers, the ones people came to when the crops failed, or the baby wouldn't sleep, or the soul felt haunted. They used roots, chants, charms, firelight, and prayer. They watched dreams and read signs in the sky. They lived at the edge of the village, not because they were outcasts, but because they were bridges between this world and the next. But when power shifted, when empires rose and religions took over, those in charge became afraid of the witch. Why? Because a witch answers to nature, not to kings. Because a witch finds her truth in the stars and soil, not in books written by men. And so the wise women were burned. The healers were hunted. The word witch was twisted into a curse. Still, it never died. Witchcraft survived in whispers, in lullabies and cooking herbs, in knot tied on string, in dreams passed down from grandmother to daughter. It hid itself in folklore and fairy tales, in the stories of crones and in the woods, of witches with black cats and cauldrons. But those were masks. The real witch never left. She just went quiet. Until now, today, witchcraft is waking up again. People are remembering. They are lighting candles with purpose. They are drawing circles of salt. They are feeling the pull of the moon in their blood. Witchcraft is no longer hidden. It's being reclaimed, and not just by women. Anyone can be a witch. Witches are those who listen, who feel, who work with unseen forces to change their lives, and sometimes the world. Let's go deeper. Witchcraft is built on energy, not electricity. Life energy, ki, prana, the breath of the world. This energy moves through you, through trees, through rivers, through dreams. Witches learn to feel it, they learn to shape it. That's what a spell really is. Not magic words like in cartoons, but a focused burst of intention wrapped in action. Lighting a candle while thinking of healing is a spell. Steering your tea clockwise and speaking love into it is a spell. It's not about superstition, it's about energy precision, which uses tools. But the tools are just mirrors. The one focuses the will, the chalice holds emotion, the athame cuts away illusion, the pantel grounds the spirit. But the real power is always inside the witch. The tools are there to help the mind focus, to turn a feeling into a form, a thought into a thread that pulls on reality. Witches also work with cycles, the moon, the seasons, the tides. They don't force things to happen. They learn when to plant, when to rest, when to burn, and when to bless. Witchcraft is not about control. It's about flow. It's about dancing with the world instead of fighting it. That's why many witches follow the wheel of the year. 8 spots that mark the turning of time. Samhain, Yule, Imbolc, Beltane. Each one opens a different kind of doorway. There are many types of witchcraft. No single book can hold them all. Some witches follow the old ways of their ancestors, folk witchcraft. These witches use the land around them, local herbs, stones, rivers. They speak to spirits in the forest. They know which tree bleeds healing sap and which one opens the path to the dead. Others practice kitchen witchcraft, where spells are baked into bread, stirred into soup, whispered into tea. A kitchen becomes a temple, a spoon becomes a wand. There are green witches who work with plants as allies, not just for healing but for wisdom. They know that mugwort brings dreams, that lavender calms fear, that rosemary remembers. To a green witch, a garden is not made of plants, it's made of friends. They touch the leaves like skin. They speak to roots in silence. And then there are chaos witches who don't follow old rules. They create their own. They use emojis and tech. They hack reality like code. They believe is a tool, a costume you wear to access power. They don't ask, is it true? They ask, does it work? A chaos witch might cast a spell with a meme, might build an altar on an iPhone, but the results still real. There is also ceremonial witchcraft, rituals full of symbols, geometry, and precise timing. These witches study planets, angles, ancient languages. They draw sigils with perfect angles. They vibrate secret names with breath. They open gates between words. It is slow, structured, beautiful, like architecture for the soul. And then there are solitary witches. Witches with no coven, no teacher, no temple, but the one they carry inside. They learn from dreams, from books that fall into their lap, from scars and synchronicities. Their path is quiet but powerful. They trust the voice inside them even when the world tells them to forget. Witchcraft works through correspondence. That means everything is connected. A red candle isn't just wax. It carries the energy of fire, of passion, of Mars, of blood, of courage. So when a witch lights it to attract love or ignite strength, the candle becomes a beacon, a signal. It calls in the energy that matches it. This is how spells are crafted, not by chance, but by resonance. A spell is a recipe for change. The ingredients are intention, focus, energy, and action. The better your ingredients, the stronger the result. But you must also let go. That is the part most forget. You cast a spell and then you release it. You do not cling, you do not beg. You trust that the current is moving. You become a magnet, not a hunter. Witches often speak of spirits, not always ghosts, sometimes ancestors, sometimes land spirits, sometimes gods. But in witchcraft, spirits are not something to fear. They are part of the world like wind or flame. You show respect. You make offerings. You listen. You build relationships. And over time, the unseen becomes a little more seen. Witchcraft is not about escape. It's not about fantasy. It's about deepening your presence in the real world. It's about remembering that the earth is alive, that your thoughts have weight, that your voice matters. When you speak a spell, it echoes. When you walk the land with reverence, it notices. You are not separate from the world, you are woven into it. The origins of witchcraft are tied to survival. Thousands of years ago, knowing which plants healed or which weather signs meant danger wasn't just wisdom, it was life or death. The village healer, often called the cunning woman or wise man, knew these secrets. Over time, these practices became sacred. Herbs were not just medicine, They were spirit allies. Fire was not just warmth, it was transformation. Water was not just for drinking, it was a mirror to the soul. This is where witchcraft was born, in the daily dance between human beings and the living forces of the earth. When organized religions and empires rose, they feared this power. Witches didn't need a priest to talk to God. They could call the divine through wind, moonlight, or their own heartbeat. That made them dangerous. The witch hunts of the Middle Ages were not about evil. They were about control. Thousands of innocent people were tortured, burned, or drowned simply for knowing too much about herbs, stars, or the old ways. But witchcraft cannot be killed. It moves like roots under soil. It waits. Today, witchcraft is everywhere again. Some witches practice Wicca, a modern path built on old traditions. It honors the god and the goddess, the cycles of nature, and the magic of the seasons. Others follow no specific path. Some blend witchcraft with their culture, African, Celtic, Norse, Slavic, or indigenous practices. Each path is unique, but they all share the same heartbeat, the belief that we are connected to the universe, and that our will, when focused, can shape realities. How does witchcraft work? It begins with awareness. A witch observes the world closely, the way clouds gather before a storm, the way animals behave, the way dreams whisper messages. From this awareness comes alignment, with which acts when the time is right, when the moon is full, or when the season turns, or when their intuition says now. They use tools like candles, herbs, stones, and symbols to give their will a form, but the real spell is cast in the mind and heart. The ritual is just a doorway. The power comes from stepping through it. A modern witch might mix ancient practices with modern life. They might meditate with headphones, charge crystals on a laptop, or draw sigils in a notebook. Witchcraft is not stuck in the past. It evolves. It is alive. As long as humans dream and desire, witchcraft finds new ways to grow. If you are drawn to witchcraft, know this. It is not about copying others. It's about finding your own rhythm. You might be called to the moon, or to the forest, or to the kitchen, or to the tarot. Follow what calls you. Your path will shape itself. Read, study, but also listen to your body, to your dreams, to the signs that appear when you pay attention. Witchcraft is not just something you do, it's something you become. And always remember, witchcraft is responsibility. Every spell is a stone thrown into the river of life. The ripples return. If you curse, you invite curses. If you heal, you invite healing. True witches walk with the awareness of this. They create not just for themselves, but for balance. They learn when to act and when to let the universe work on its own. In the end, witchcraft is not about being powerful. It's about remembering that you are power. It's about knowing that your thoughts, your breath, your hands, your heart, these are the real tools of magic. The candles and herbs just help you see what is already within. This is witchcraft. It's old as fire. It's soft as moonlight. It's fierce as the storm. And it has been waiting for you.